Pack your things, Ava. We're turning your room into a home gym for your sister. The words sliced through the kitchen like a blade. I looked up for my coffee. Sure, I'd misheard. My mom stood at the counter, casual as ever, flipping through a fitness magazine. You're kidding, right? I asked, my voice quiet but trembling. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. She didn't even look at me. No, sweetheart. Madison needs space for her new equipment, and you're barely here anyway. That last part hit harder than the first. I'm barely here because I work 2 jobs, I said, to pay for my student loans. Remember those? My dad cleared his throat, hiding behind his newspaper. It's not personal, Ava. You're an adult now. It's time to move out and make your own way. Madison, my younger sister, my mother's living, breathing trophy, was leaning against the fridge, sipping her smoothie like this was a talk show. Don't take it so hard, she said sweetly. You can stay at some cheap apartment downtown. That's what independence is, right? I stared at her. Perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect smug little grin. I wanted to scream. Instead, I felt something colder creep through me. Fine, I said, standing up. You can have the room. Mom smiled, relieved. That's mature of you. I didn't respond. I went upstairs, opened my closet, and started folding clothes into my duffel bag. Each shirt, each book, each little thing I'd worked for, stuffed into the same bag I'd brought home from college. As I zipped it shut, I glanced around. The room smelled faintly of vanilla candles and coffee. My scent. My world. Now it would smell like sweat and protein powder. By dusk, I was gone. No tears. No begging. Just the quiet click of the door behind me. I drove through the cold streets with no destination. My car heater was broken, my phone battery dying. I parked near the edge of town and watched as the last bit of sunlight disappeared behind the trees. For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Then I whispered to myself, "All right, Ava, let them turn your room into a gym. You'll turn the whole house into something they can't touch." The wind howled against the windshield, almost like it was answering me back. That night, as their house lights glowed in the distance, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't fight them for a room. I'd build something bigger. And one day, they'd see my name on the door they once locked behind me. The city didn't care that I'd just been kicked out. The traffic lights blinked like nothing happened, and the cold wind bit harder than any words my mother ever said. I parked my car behind a rundown convenience store and spent that night staring at the ceiling of my old sedan. Sleep wouldn't come. All I could see was Madison's smirk and my mom's casual shrug as they erased me from their world. By morning, I'd made a decision. If they wanted me gone, fine. But I'd make sure they'd remember the day they told me to pack my things. I got up, washed my face in a gas station restroom, and walked into the small cafe across the street where I'd applied months ago. The owner, Mr. Keller, a grumpy man with a soft heart, looked at me over his glasses. "You look like you've been through a storm." I smiled faintly. "I just need a job. Any shift, any hours." He nodded. "Aprons hanging on the hook. Don't burn the place down." For weeks, I worked open to close, pouring coffee, sweeping floors, smiling through exhaustion. Every night, I crashed on the cot in the storage room. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And with each paycheck, I saved every dollar like it was a weapon I'd use later. One evening, The cafe was almost empty when a man in a charcoal suit walked in. Mid-30s, quiet confidence, the kind of person you could tell never waited for anything in life. He ordered a black coffee and sat in the corner, typing on a tablet. When I brought the cup over, he looked up and said, "You're not just a barista." I frowned. "Excuse me?" He gestured toward the display board I'd redone last week. "You redesigned that menu. The pricing, the layout, it's smart. You think like a business owner." I blinked, unsure if he was complimenting me or mocking me. "I think like someone who's tired of struggling," I said quietly. He smiled. "Good. My name's Daniel Reed. I run a small property investment firm downtown. I like people who think ahead. If you ever want to learn something new, come by this address." He slid a business card across the counter and left. I stared at it for a long time. The paper felt heavier than it should have, like it carried a different kind of weight. Opportunity. The next week I went. Daniel's office wasn't big, but it was polished, glass walls, buzzing phones, people who looked like they knew where their lives were going. He looked up when I walked in. "Didn't think you'd show," he said. "I don't like wasting chances," I replied. He grinned. "Then sit down. Let's get started." He didn't hand me a miracle. He handed me a stack of books, real estate laws, property valuation, contracts, and told me to read them like my life depended on it. And it did. I studied after work, barely sleeping, my mind burning with new numbers and ideas. Months blurred together. The girl who used to cry in her car was now closing deals in boardrooms. Daniel became a mentor, sometimes a friend, always a reminder that hunger, not luck, changes a person. By the end of the second year, I'd saved enough to invest in a small duplex. I renovated it myself, painted walls, fixed plumbing, slept on the floor until the tenants moved in. The rent checks that followed felt like oxygen. I kept climbing. 2 properties turned into 5. 5 into 10. Each one carried a story. Each one another layer of armor over the scar they'd left when they threw me out. Then one Friday morning, Daniel dropped a file on my desk. "Here's a listing you might want to see," he said. I opened it and froze. Address: 1047 Maple Avenue. My old house. I read it twice, just to be sure. The owners, my parents, were behind on their mortgage. The bank was preparing to sell. My chest went still. The same walls that once echoed with laughter and betrayal were now up for grabs. Daniel's voice broke the silence. "You okay?" I looked up, calm but shaking inside. "Yeah, just deja vu." That night, I sat by the window of my apartment, staring at the city lights below. The contract lay on the table beside me, and signed. All it needed was my name. My signature would erase years of humiliation in a single stroke. But revenge wasn't what I wanted most. It was closure. To take back what they stole. My pride. I picked up the pen and whispered, "You wanted me out, Mom. Now I own the door you closed." And I signed it. When the ink dried, a strange calm settled over me. The same calm I felt the night I left home with nothing. But this time, I had power, quiet, legal, undeniable power. Tomorrow, they'd wake up in my house. And when their lights went out, it wouldn't be because of a storm. It would be because of me. The night air hummed with the kind of tension that sits deep in your bones. From my car, parked a few houses down, I could see the faint glow spilling from the living room of 1047 Maple Avenue, the house that once smelled like Sunday dinners and laughter, now echoing with the people who threw me away like clutter. I wasn't here for drama. I was here for closure. At exactly 8 p.m., I got a text from Daniel. "Transaction completed. Deed transferred. You are now the legal owner. I exhaled slowly. It was done. Every signature, every dollar, every night spent working instead of sleeping, it had all led here. I thought I'd feel rage, maybe triumph. Instead, all I felt was an eerie calm. A few minutes later, I made the call. The property management company confirmed the details. The tenants, my family, were months behind on payments, and the new owner, me, had full authority to terminate the lease. Proceed, I said. By the time I hung up, the street was pitch black except for the soft gold glow from their windows. Then, one by one, those lights began to flicker. The power company had received the disconnection order. The living room went dark. The porch light sputtered and died. The house that once glowed like a warm memory was now a silhouette against the night. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched as the shadow of my mother appeared by the window, phone in hand, panic rising. Moments later, their SUV headlights burst to life, cutting across the street as they sped toward the gas station, probably to call the landlord. They didn't know I was the one they'd be calling. I drove home, heart pounding with every turn. My apartment felt smaller that night, but somehow the air inside felt bigger, freer. I sat by the window, letting the moonlight paint the walls as I imagined their confusion, their anger, their fear. And for the first time since they told me to pack my things, I slept like a child. The next morning, I was halfway through a meeting when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. I answered, keeping my tone neutral. A shaky female voice came through. Hi, this is Carol Bennett. We live at 1047 Maple, and there's been a mistake. Our power was cut off last night. The landlord, Mr. Clarkson, said the property changed ownership. I smiled faintly. Yes, it has. Oh, thank God, she said quickly. Could you please tell the new owner that we'll get the payment sorted this week? We just need a few more days. There was a pause, a silence so sharp I could almost hear the realization creep into her voice. Wait, Ava. Hi, Mom. The other end went dead quiet. Then a whisper, fragile and afraid. You bought the house? Yes, I said. Actually, it's mine now. And I'm calling about your overdue rent. I could hear her breathing short, trembling. Ava, this isn't funny. It's not a joke, I said softly. When you told me to leave, I listened. You said I needed to grow up. I did. And now, I'm your landlord. For a moment, the only sound was the faint hum of the office around me. Then she snapped, her voice sharp with disbelief. You can't do this to your own family. I let out a short laugh. You did worse to yours. There was a click. Call ended. That evening, I drove back to Maple Avenue one last time. The air smelled like rain. That clean, electric scent before a storm breaks. Their car was in the driveway now. Inside, I could see the three of them standing in the kitchen, faces pale in the glow of a battery lamp. Madison was crying. My father was pacing. My mother looked furious. Not at me, but at herself. When I stepped out of the car, the gravel crunched under my heels. My mother turned first. Her face hardened when she saw me walking up the path. You've made your point, she said coldly. Now stop this. I stopped a few feet away. No, Mom. This is the point. Actions have consequences. You can't kick someone down and expect them to forget where they fell. My dad stepped forward, guilt written all over his tired face. Ava, we were wrong. We know that. But taking our home. I cut in. You mean my home. The one you threw me out of so your perfect daughter could have a treadmill? Madison's lip quivered. I never wanted this, she said, her voice breaking. Didn't you? I asked quietly. You smirked when I left. You told me I'd never make it. She looked away. I took a slow breath, my anger cooling into something stronger. Power. You'll have 30 days to vacate. After that, the locks change. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't flinch. I'd cried enough for all of us years ago. As I turned to leave, she whispered, You're not the daughter I raised. I stopped just for a moment. You're right, I said. You raised the daughter who left. Life raised the one who came back. Then I walked away, calm, steady, untouchable. When I reached my car, I looked back once more. The house stood dark, quiet, defeated. Not ruined, just reclaimed. For years, I dreamed of hearing them say, I'm proud of you. But tonight, silence was louder than those words ever could have been. I started the engine, the headlights slicing through the fog, and whispered to myself. They took my room. I took back everything. 3 weeks passed. By then, the whispers had reached everyone in town. Ava bought her parents' house. She evicted them. How did she even do it? I didn't care about gossip. I cared about what came next. The renovation crews started work the morning after my parents moved out. I didn't go inside until they were gone. Watching from my car, I saw my father load boxes into their SUV, his hands shaking. My mother stood frozen on the porch, the same spot where she'd once told me to grow up. This time, she didn't say a word. When the door shut behind them, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like the end of something that had already died years ago. I walked up to the house, keys in hand. The air smelled of dust and faint perfume, the ghost of my old life. I stepped through the doorway, and every memory came rushing back. The birthdays, the arguments, the nights I cried myself to sleep wondering why love had conditions. And for a second, I thought about undoing it all, calling them, giving the house back, pretending forgiveness was easy. But forgiveness without accountability isn't healing. It's surrender. I ran my hand along the wall, where my childhood height marks were still faintly visible. You took everything from me, I whispered, but you also taught me what to build. That night, I called Daniel. I don't want to sell it, I said. I want to turn it into something else. What are you thinking? He asked. I smiled faintly. A place for women who have nowhere to go. For anyone who's been told they don't belong. He paused. That's poetic, Ava. Full circle. Exactly, I said. It's not revenge anymore. It's closure. The following month, the house transformed. The once pink walls of Madison's gym room became soft cream and gold, sunlight spilling through new windows. The broken floorboards were replaced, the kitchen repainted, the whole place filled with warmth again, but this time for people who needed it. When the first woman arrived, a single mom escaping a bad marriage, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "Thank you for giving me a home." I smiled, and for the first time in years, I actually meant it. "You're welcome," I said. "You deserve one." A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew that handwriting anywhere. It was from my mom. "Ava, we saw what you did with the house. I can't say I understand it, but I see now that you've built something beautiful. Maybe we didn't raise you perfectly, but you grew into someone stronger than we ever imagined." Mom. I sat there for a long time, staring at those words. No apology, but also no pride. Just honesty. That was enough. I folded the letter and tucked it in my wallet, not as a reminder of pain, but of how far I'd come from it. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the house, I stood on the porch and watched the warm light spill from the windows. Laughter echoed inside. Real laughter, not the kind I grew up with. The wind brushed against my face, soft and forgiving. And for the first time since that night I was told to pack my things, I felt at peace. I didn't get revenge. I got something better, freedom. I locked the door behind me, whispered, "Thank you for making me leave," and walked away smiling, knowing that sometimes the only way to reclaim your home is to build a better one.